You're listening to Feathers, a podcast of stories of women walking in faith. I hope these stories inspire you and encourage you to take flight in your own faith. I'm your host, Amy Bennett, and this is Season 9, Episode 14. Feathers is an outreach of Abiding Ministries. Find more encouragement at abidingministries.net. Well, hey friend, and welcome to Feathers. I am so excited to have Dr. Edie Wadsworth on this week. She is the lifestyle blogger of Life and Grace and author of spiritual memoir, All the Pretty Things. She also encourages women to natural living and leads an educational group on essential oils. And man, over the years, I have learned so much from her in so many different arenas, and she has an incredible story of restoration, and we just touch on that today. But I hope even with what we share today that it gives you some hope and encouragement in what you are walking through. It is truly such a joy to introduce you to Edie Wadsworth. Well, hey, Miss Edie, and welcome to Feathers today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness, this has been a long time coming. I am so glad to have you on my podcast. It's just such an honor.
I feel the same way. Thank you for being patient with my crazy time slots.
No problem at all. Well, how about we start off? You can introduce yourself, and I hate to say what keeps you busy because there's a lot, but
Sure. Sure. My name is Edie Wadsworth. I'm a medical doctor who is probably on permanent sabbatical. I now work from home and do nutrition and wellness and essential oils. I have 9 kids. So I have, my kids have come to me in all kinds of different ways, but we have a big, messy, beautiful family. My husband is a podiatrist and we live in the beautiful mountains of East Tennessee. And I love helping women find their passion and purpose and offer their gifts to the world. I feel like that is my mission in life, is to empower other women to find their own gifts and use those gifts to change the world.
Well, you have definitely done that for me. And you're not going to believe this because I actually had to look it up and I couldn't believe it. But I have been following you online for at least 7 years. I don't know.
Oh my word!
Yes, I actually looked back in my email and I bought your 31 Days to Hospitality ebook back in 2013.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yes, I had no idea. I mean, I knew I had been following you for a long time, but yeah, I couldn't believe it. So real quick, how did you get into blogging? What year was that for you?
I started blogging in 2008, so 10 years ago. This year in May was my 10-year anniversary. And I started blogging because I had just quit my job as a family doctor to homeschool my kids. And there is no more devastating transition than going from running your own busy medical practice to being home with your kids all the time. It was so much harder than I thought. And I needed an outlet, and I had always been a writer. And so blogging was perfect for me because I could still be home with my kids and homeschool and then kind of process my life through the blog.
Well, I am so thankful. It's been really fun to watch it over the years and how all of this has evolved. And I mean, you said that your goal was really to, help empower other women. And like I said, you've definitely done that for me, whether it was, in homemaking, most recently in natural living. But I was surprised to learn. So you have a book out, All the Pretty Things. It's your spiritual memoir. And how I just now am reading this, I have no idea. But I just read it. It's so fantastic, Edie.
Oh, thank you so much. It was the most difficult thing I think I've ever done. And when I got a book deal, I actually got a book deal because of my blog. And when I got a book deal, I wanted to share all kinds of wisdom with the world. I wanted to write a book about the table of the Lord and how he gathers us at his table. And I was using sort of the hospitality theme. I had the whole thing figured out. And when I met with the publishers, they asked me, a lot about my life and my stories. And long story short, it turned into a memoir, which it never really was supposed to be, which was way, way harder to write and way more humbling and way more of an emotional journey and transformation for me, which is why I think other people find it transformational. It kind of, in a way, I think reads like a love letter. And it's basically my own heartbreaking journey through fatherlessness and poverty and addiction and abuse. And then how I turned sort of into a striving maniac to try to prove that, I was good enough to the world. And then eventually how God really broke me and made me his servant. So, yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And that is exactly, that's what I want to jump into today, because I was astounded, because I know you as the blogger, my natural health doctor online. And I was just astounded at the rocky start that you had to life, and to see the transformation that I know that God has had a part in your life, and just how you have overcome. So I would love to jump into that a little bit today. Would you just give us a sense? I know there's no way that we could, fully describe what your childhood was like, but can you give us a sense of what that life was like as a young child?
Well, the basic theme of it always to me felt like fatherlessness. It felt like always wanting to be tethered to something, to be protected and cared for, and not finding that. I had an amazing dad in a lot of ways. He was charismatic, and he was generous, and he was funny, and he was crazy, but he was an alcoholic and not very dependable. And I ended up, later in my young adulthood, basically taking care of him. And so
can we just say, and let me interrupt, when you say taking care of him, that started at a very young age, actually, right? I mean, like, you were 4 and 5 years old, and really in some ways playing the part of a parent with him.
Yeah, I've always had I can't describe it, just an abnormal, probably, attachment to him, no matter what happened. He was my person. And I knew he loved me despite his demons that were always keeping him from me. I knew he loved me. And I just wanted him. I wanted his attention. I thought he was a hero to me in a weird way. So I wanted to be with him no matter what, which ended up meaning that, I was taking care of a drunk man a lot of the time. And you grow up with that, and you don't realize that that's so weird until you get older. And then I noticed how drawn I was to people who had, caring fathers that were present in the home, that were present in their lives. I was drawn to coaches. I was drawn to youth pastors who felt like father figures. I guess I just didn't realize what a huge gaping wound that was in my heart. And my dad ended up with lung and liver cancer, and ended up dying before I graduated from medical school. And his death was kind of my unraveling, really. Because up until then, I was still, I wouldn't ever have even admitted that I was angry with him. I was just still always his biggest cheerleader and his biggest fan. And when he died, so much came bubbling to the surface. My life completely unraveled. I kind of went crazy. And it was a long road of healing from there. So yeah, we have, Daddy and I have an interesting story, and it is so funny too, because I feel like in so many ways I went into the writing of the book with with the weight of the world on my shoulders, feeling like, oh, I didn't get what I needed in childhood. And what happened through the writing of the book, the transformation that happened for me, was what I realized is everything happened perfectly in my life. And all the right people came at all the right times. And I kind of went treasure hunting in my past. And that's what I love to teach people how to do. You can go to your past and look for all the ways you've been wronged, and all the ways you've been neglected, and all the ways that things have not been good. But through the process of writing my book, I went treasure hunting in my past, and what I found astonished me. And it just made me realize that God had been taking care of me the whole time, that he was my true father, and that he was making all things new, and he was protecting me at every step and rescuing me. So it was a beautiful journey for me. Mostly, sometimes I feel like memoirs are just that. They're like, you got to get your healing first.
Yes. I love that you brought up the people that were along your path, because that was one of my favorite parts that you talked about, is that you had youth pastors and coaches and, friends, families that really seemed to be kind of like, what do you call them? Like not life jackets.
Life rafts. Yeah.
Life rafts, whatever. They kind of showed up, like you said, at the right time to help you along the way. So even though in a lot of ways, you had this fatherlessness, God did provide these people. So what has that been like for you as an adult, for other people who are traveling maybe the same kind of road that you did as a child?
Yeah, what I find is that we just get so stuck in our past. And I lived that way for 43 years, and really until I wrote my book. And we just get so stuck there. And what we don't realize is that everything is a gift. I really am convinced that, and we know that because the best and worst day of Jesus' life was the cross. So we know that transformation happens in suffering. We know that the gifts are always disguised in ways that we wouldn't call them gifts. So I love helping people reimagine their past and look for all the ways that they were being rescued and look for the silver lining. I really do feel like you can have the life you want when you decide how you want to see it. And so my adulthood has really been just a journey in that. Am I willing to reimagine it? And am I willing to look at my past for all the treasures that are there? And so I love helping other people see that too, because I think it's so easy to get stuck.
Yes. So you were in this place really, I think you would say striving, as a young adult. I think in your book, one part is that you said that you were avoiding feeling like you would never amount to anything. You're avoiding failure. You're working so hard to be noticed.
Yep.
How do you think that served you well? And then how do you think maybe that really truly didn't fulfill you?
Yeah, I think, it's part of my personality. I'm an Enneagram 3, so I'm just an achiever, overachiever by nature, probably driven from the wounds of my past to some degree. And the more I accomplished, the more I achieved, the less fulfilled I was. Because I didn't have my head in the right space, because I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. I still fight the achiever demon, that still is my personality. I have a million ideas and things I want to do. And, so it's still my personality, but I live it out from such a different place now than I did when I was in my 20s and early 30s. Now it's from a place of rest and abundance and peace and joy. Then it was like a white knuckle, I'm going to show everybody that I can be a doctor, that I can come from this, awful background. And, it was kind of like that white knuckling, and that never works. It just never works. And it took me a long time to even see that I was doing that. I think a lot of times we're doing that and we don't even see it. And we're making ourselves miserable. We're making the people who love us miserable. So I have been on, a 10-year quest to learn how to rest and heal and still do all the things I love to do, but do it from a different place.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is that I feel like as I've watched you, at least because I've, I guess, come a little closer, the past months as we've been connected, but I see you busy as ever, overachieving as ever. You were doing live videos, like 3 live videos a day for the whole month of November, which was insane.
Yep.
Exhausted. But I see that from a place of serving, not from striving.
Yes. It really is. It's what we're made for. And the suffering that we go through and the wounds that we overcome, those become the gifts that we give the world. Those are the gifts that we bring back. If you've read anything about the hero's journey, we go to the underworld, we fight our dragons and our demons, and we bring back a gift to the people, and we serve them with the gift, and we love them with the gift, and we do it from this heart of abundance and joy because we have been so well cared for. I think back then, I didn't know that I was well cared for. I still felt that lack in my life. And so I was making up for it myself. Now it comes from this place of, oh my word, I can't count the blessings. I can't count the gratitude in my heart. I look back at my past and I see amazing gifts. And I look at my life today, I live in a beautiful home on the lake. I have a beautiful, gorgeous family. I have a fulfilling job, so much abundance, just abundance every single place I turn. And I can't get over feeling so grateful for that I want to give back. I want to be a channel for that blessing, that it just flows through me to other people. And I love helping other women do that because I know what it feels like to be stuck, to feel like, first of all, the blessing can't come through you at all, so it can't go to anybody else. And I love the process, the transformation of helping people live from a wide open heart, live from a place of abundance, live, in this peace and joy that we have in Christ, and not have to live from this striving.
Mm. Oh my goodness. Well, and you definitely do that as you share, even just reading your book. I mean, I think it gives people just a sense of hope that the hard parts of their lives can be a gift. I mean, just hearing your story that it can happen, I think gives hope that there's hope for other people. I don't know. I just was just in awe after reading it, and so glad that you went through that journey to be able to share that and write that down.
Yeah, it reminds me of this quote. I found this quote yesterday, and it has just been swirling around in my head for days. But it's from Rilke, and it says this: perhaps all the dragons in our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us act just once with beauty and courage. And I feel like the dragons from my past were really just princesses in disguise. And once I had the courage to really act, to write about it, to be willing to reimagine my past and look at my life differently, it all it had been gift all along, but then I could finally see it.
Well, it sounds like it's really about perspective and acceptance, really. It seems like It's really accepting what happened and seeing that as a gift. And I think about the verse that comes to mind is that God works all things together for good. And some people can slap that on and, you should do that.
Romans 8:28. It has been my life verse for a long time. I love it. And it's just true. It's just true. And I think the sooner we can embrace that, the sooner we get to the joy part, to the peace part. It doesn't mean that life isn't hard. Life is heartbreaking. We're in the process right now of trying to adopt a little boy, and his life I can't hardly even talk about it without sobbing. And we've been in his life for 3 years. There's no resolution. There's no easy answer. I drive him home every Sunday night and cry all the way home. Life is just full of suffering and heartbreak. But the other side of that is that if we let that, if we can reimagine it, if we can see it as God working things for our good and working things for the good of people we love, then we just trust him. I trust him with Thomas. I know that he loves Thomas more than I do. And I feel like I know what Thomas needs. But it's that faith and trust to be able to say, it's kind of like I think about this as we enter into Advent. It's like Mary. And she basically said, let it be to me as you have said. She opened her hands and her heart and said, let it be to me as you have said. And we have got to be willing to do that with our lives, to say, Lord, let it be as you have said.
Mm.
And,
right in the middle of it, right in the middle of it. You don't have to be at the end and then, oh, it all turned out fine. Now I'm okay. No, it's like right in the middle of it. And that's what the very definition of faith is believing in something we can't see.
yes.
And so that's what we have to do in the very middle of the mess. We say, God, I know you love us. God, I trust you to make good out of this. And it doesn't make any sense now, but I know you're going to do it.
Yep. So true.
So true. Oh my goodness.
Let me interrupt this conversation for a moment to thank Dayspring, our exclusive Season 9 sponsor. So we are coming up on Christmas, and I can't think of a better time to consider gifting someone close to you with a new Bible. Dayspring has several Bibles on their website, but the two we have highlighted this season are the Encourage Women's Devotional Bible and the Illustrating Bible. The Encourage Bible features the CSB translation of the Bible, along with hundreds of devotions and reading plans right with the Bible. I am so honored to have two of them included in there. The other Bible is for the Bible journaler in your life, called the Illustrating Bible. It is spiral bound, so it can lay flat, and it has extra wide margins for the journaling, and whether that's just notes or something super creative. And you can get both of these Bibles at dayspring.com.
Okay, well, I don't want to let you leave until we talk a little bit about health and wellness, because you have been such a mentor to me over the past year or so, especially the last 6 months in natural health. And I have personally been on a journey probably the last couple of years. I don't know if you even know that we adopted from social services. That sounds weird. Our son came from social services. We adopted him 4 years ago. He was 8 years old when he came to us. So it's probably why I identify a lot with what you say. But in the midst of all of that led to several years of just really high stress. Found myself, finally got diagnosed by a functional doctor with adrenal fatigue earlier this year. And I can say that our health is so important to the things that God has for us to do. That we want to have this life that we serve others, but we cannot do it if we are sick. Like I mean, even with this podcast, I meant to do like a summer season, but I just had to let my body rest. I couldn't do it because my body was not well. And as I've, recovered, I know for me, it's seeing the functional doctor, changing my diet, getting supplements, and essential oils have been a part of that. And I know you identify with this, really seeing a health crisis and then kind of climbing out of that. What does that look like for you over the past few years?
Yeah, it's funny because it happened to me when I was writing this book, and I was just an emotional wreck. I had complete adrenal fatigue. I was a wreck, and I tried the traditional route, and I didn't like the answers. I didn't want to be taking a bunch of stuff that's not really processed well by our bodies and not really meant, to be in our bodies if we can help it. And so I started exploring this crazy world of natural health and nutrition and essential oils and supplements. And it's been so life-changing and so transformative for me that, as passionate as I am about helping people find their passion, what I realize is we can't do that if we're not well, just like what you said, And so I had my own amazing healing journey. I don't know, it probably took 6 months to a year. And I began studying this natural stuff. I read everything I could read. I ended up starting my own teaching group. It's just been a crazy journey. And it totally has made me realize how many of us deal with this chronic stress, hormones imbalanced, depression and anxiety and insomnia, like all the stuff that we deal with. And I'm just convinced that what we eat, how we sleep, the things that we allow in our homes and put on our bodies, and it all contributes. And the more you can live the way God designed you. He designed us to move. He designed us to sleep. He didn't design us to live with chronic stress. He designed us to use things that he gave us that work well in our bodies. It's kind of just like, it made so much sense to me. I'm like, oh yeah, he loves us. And not only did he provide for everything we need in our salvation, but he provides for everything we need in our bodies too. And as I began to as I began to really study it and learn it, I was just blown away. I was amazed. And again, more and more gratitude for, wow, how he makes things. And, these crazy oils. When I first started doing oils, you didn't ever see it on the internet. People didn't talk about it. And then when they talked about it, I thought it was the weirdest thing I'd ever heard of, until I realized, he just filled the world with them. They're everywhere outside. We breathe them in all the time if we go outside, which as a culture, we don't do that much anymore. But it just all fell into place and made sense. So I love helping women find natural healing. I love helping them ditch the toxins that are filling up our homes, that are causing hormone disruption, that are causing endocrine disruption. I love helping women learn how to live without so much chronic stress, how to really take care of themselves, eat better, sleep better, all of that. It's so much fun.
Well, let me tell you, so I've been, I guess you can say, well, let me just tell you this about oil. I want to specifically talk about oils because I feel like that's the piece of the pie, if you will, that you really have helped with. I actually was introduced to oils. I don't know if a lot of bloggers kind of got into oils. I don't know how many years ago, maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I decided, well, no, I'm not going to do the MLM thing. I'm going to go off and buy my own thing. I'm going to do it. I'm a go-getter. I'll go do it. And what I found was, yeah, I got them. But what I missed by doing that is the education and community. And do you know what I did? I haven't ever told anybody this. I ended up throwing all of that away.
Oh my word.
I did. I just felt like I can't explain it. I don't know if I just needed to start fresh.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting connected with you and Jackie Watkins. If some people know the Mud Stories podcast, got started with the starter kit with Young Living. And let me tell you, within a couple weeks, maybe it might have been a couple months, but I sobbed in the floor of my home, in my closet, just thanking God for essential oils. I can't explain it. It was a spiritual experience. And I was just so grateful for the oils. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus. You provided all these oils and I just love them. And I can't imagine my life without them now.
I know. I say that all the time. I'm sitting here at my desk looking at this stash of amazing stuff. And I think to myself, I still have friends that don't use these yet. And that's why I love sharing it, because sometimes it just takes, when you hear it from somebody that you don't know and you go, oh, there's probably nothing to that. Then you hear it from somebody, probably like you did, that you've been following a while, that you trust, that, you're like, well, I mean, if she likes them, that's kind of what happened to me. Well, if she likes them, I trust her. And it's been so life-changing for me. It's added so much joy. One of the things that oils do that I love so much is the first place they go is to the emotional center of your brain. So they have a lot of effect on mood and stress. They block the effects of cortisol in your body, the stress hormone. So they have incredible effects for stress and mood and emotions. And that's really my favorite thing they do. Everybody that I know, and I probably have 7,500 people now in my oils group, but everybody that I know that has used oils feels more peace. They have the capacity for more joy. They feel less stressed. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's definitely the part that I've experienced is just the effect that it has on stress and mood. And I want you to talk for a minute, just really from the medical side of it. I think some people would think of oils like, oh, they're just a smell good, they might make your house smell good kind of thing, but they really have scientific medical impact on your body. It's not just oh, this smells good kind of thing.
Oh, they're like little tiny miracles, in your body. They do incredible things. And it shouldn't surprise us because most of the ideas for pharmaceutical drugs come from plants. And, if we believe that Pfizer could make something that helps with mood, why would we not think God would make something even better that didn't have, all the negative side effects in your body and such? So, yeah, I don't know. I just had this light bulb moment where I'm like, I've trained in medicine for 20 years and I totally believe that scientists and pharmaceutical companies can make molecules that help our bodies. So why could God not just fill the earth with them like he did? So yeah, it was kind of an epiphany for me when I realized like, this is way more simple. We try to complicate it, I think, because it feels weird that an oil could have the effect it has. But when you think about where scientists get the ideas that they get for molecules that have a great impact on the body, so many times it comes from plants. So
yeah, it totally makes sense. My husband has said for years, he's like, I know God has put, things on this earth that, helps heal us. And he does. And yeah, I believe oils are definitely a part of that.
Yes. I was going to tell your people too, I think there are a lot of ways that people misuse oils and don't get the results that they want because they don't really use them right, or they don't have the right oils or whatever. So I can share with you, maybe you can put it in your show notes. I have a little download that people can read and say like, oh, okay, maybe that's why I didn't get results with it. Or, oh, so I have that available. I'll send it to you and then you can pass that along for people who are, who've tried them like you did. Try them and you go, well, I don't know. A lot of times that's because you don't have the right oils. You're not using them the right way. So we can help you there.
Absolutely. And like I mentioned, when, just being on your team, if you will, and being just connected with you, just the amount of education that you provide in your community is just kind of off the charts. And that's what made the difference. That's what made the difference. When you talk about it doesn't work for some people and then it did, your education made the difference for me.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yay. That makes me happy.
Yes. And I'm going to have in the show notes as well the place where you can go to get the starter kit to get started with oils if that's what you're ready to do. And I know you are because they're so awesome.
Yes, we would love to have all of your friends in there with us. It's an amazing community online. It's probably one of the most encouraging online communities I've ever been a part of. We do constant classes and teaching in there. It's a private community, so you feel like, okay, I'm in here with people, with like-minded people. So we would love to have your friends.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Edie, I have so enjoyed talking with you, and just want to say thank you, and I'm so grateful for all the work that you have done and how you've shared your story. So thanks so much for spending some time with me today.
Thank you, Miss Amy. It was a joy and pleasure, and blessings on your day, and blessings out to all your podcast listeners. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, friend, do you just not love Edie? Oh my goodness. I just love her to pieces. I just love that she has been able to overcome her past and is such a blessing to so many people. But one of the things that she said during that interview that just totally rocked me, and I keep thinking about it, is that says that her past went perfectly. Everything happened as it should. I could not get that out of my mind. For me personally, it hits home as we journey alongside my son, who has had such a rocky start to life. One of the things she talks about is when you're looking at your past and it just looks like it all went wrong, is to go treasure hunting in your past and to find the gifts along the way. I did this exercise once where I just started writing out my past, and even someone like me who you wouldn't say had a rocky start at all, but still had moments, I found that God was providing for me and protecting me all along the way. So if that is something that you relate with, you just feel like you would say that your past was such a rough start, I just want to encourage you to go treasure hunting. And I would love for you to check out her book, All the Pretty Things. It's so good. And you can really see how someone can take a past like she had and then see it for all the pretty things that it provided for her. And just another thing she talked about is just how transformation happens in suffering. You might have been following God with all you have, and you keep saying yes to God, and yet you find yourself in a season of suffering. Just let Edie's journey encourage you that yes, she has suffered, but she has also transformed in that suffering and sees her past as a gift, just like as I was saying.
just how she is letting that transformation extend to other people. She talked about wanting it to just, the gifts to just flow through her to other people so she can extend that comfort and the knowledge and the wisdom she has gained to other people that are also hurting. The last thing that we chatted about is the health and wellness journey we really have both been on, and how important that is. And it is so important that we are well spiritually, emotionally, and physically. And, as we talked about, Edie is an expert in essential oils, and she wouldn't have said it, but she is currently leading the fastest growing group within Young Living. And as part of her group, I can tell you that's because she loves well. She is so generous and she educates well. So just to talk a little logistics around that, when you buy a kit from someone on her team, like me, you are automatically added to her education group on Facebook. And that is what I was talking about, the places I have learned so much from her. The starter kit includes 11 different oils, samples of their antioxidant juice drink called Ningxia Red. It is so yummy. And their toxin-free Thieves house cleaner. So you're basically getting all that for half off. And there is a link on the show notes to get started with Young Living with that starter kit. You just want to go to abidingministries.net/blog, where you always go for the show notes. And on the show notes of this episode, you will see a link to the starter kit. For the resource that Edie was mentioning, you can get it at as she talked about, useessentialoilswithconfidence.com. That is also linked in the show notes. And if you have any questions, you can contact me directly. And my email is contact@abidingministries.net, or reach out through Facebook or Instagram. Our accounts are both under there as Abiding Ministries. Like I mentioned, essential oils have been such a blessing to me, and would love to start you on your journey with that, just to keep you well so you can do the things that God is asking you to do. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining this week. There's, again, so many different options for podcasts these days, and I don't take it lightly that you have chosen to listen to Feathers. So thankful for you. So grateful I get to do this journey with you and just share the stories as God leads. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on Feathers.